Hello and welcome, I'm your host KB and you're watching the Retrospective. Let me start off by saying I'm a huge fan of Swamp Thing. For the uninitiated, he was a comic book character created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson. He made his first appearance in House of Secrets 92, which was released in July of 1971. Since that first appearance, Swamp Thing has gone on to be a regular in the DC continuity. He's been featured in multiple storylines and even several comic series of his own, the most important, I feel, being Alan Moore's 1982 magnum opus, The Saga of Swamp Thing. If you're not a fan of Swamp Thing in general, but you are a fan of comics, do yourself a favor and go out and read this amazing series.
Secret formulas. Monsters and midgets. None of them belong in this swamp. Only one thing does. The Swamp Thing.
Apart from his appearances in comic books, Swamp Thing has also made the transition to the silver screen. He was featured in 2 live-action movies, and he also featured in a live-action TV series which ran for 3 seasons.
Would you mind telling me what you are?
The more I tell you about myself, the less you know.
Of all these silver screen adaptations of Swamp Thing, the most ill-received and often forgotten was the animated TV series released by Deke Entertainment in 1991.
Swamp Thing, you are amazing.
The TV show was created as a tie-in for an action figure line by Kenner. This was just one in a long line of mutated hero protagonists which was popular in the late 80s and the early 90s. I personally did enjoy the show as a kid, but watching it again as an adult, I can definitely see why the show failed. Even though it was produced by Deke Entertainment, who had a fairly good name at the time, the production values of the show just felt very cheap. The animation was okay, and the voice acting was passable, but otherwise there was just nothing really special about the show. Where I felt the show really failed was in the writing. It just felt really lazy and very uncompelling. The characters also had zero development. They also really dropped the ball with failing to capture the tortured aspects of Alex Holland, a scientist who's killed in a lab bombing and whose formula bonds his soul with the swampy marsh to create the elemental entity known as the Swamp Thing. He then struggles to either identify himself as the man he was or the plant hybrid that he's now become.
So be it. If there is a way for me to return to human form, I must find it for myself. Meanwhile, Earth has its enemies.
The main antagonist in this series is Dr. Anton Arcane, who is a fairly substantial character in the world of the Swamp Thing. This version sees him more as just a mad scientist who's after Holland's formula because he wants to gain his own immortality.
Unman, arise! Search the swamp, find Tomahawk! The fountain of youth can give me immortality. It must be mine.
Along the way, he creates a generic cast of henchmen who are hideously deformed into the Unmen.
Come, my atomic unmen. The end of Swamp Thing is at hand.
Along for the ride, Swamp Thing's generic good guy buddies, Bayou Jack and Tomahawk, who along with Anton Arcane's Unmen just feel like generic underdeveloped characters who are thrown in at the last minute to flesh out Kenner's toy line.
There, Tomahawk! Just like we told you. Someone's been digging up the old Indian burial ground. What kind of person would rob graves?
An person.
One of my favorite parts of the show was the absurdly awesome theme song, which was a parody of the song Wild Thing. Check it out.
Swamp Thing,
I know. It's awesome.
Swamp Thing, Earth really needs you.
The show failed to capture an audience, and thus only 5 episodes were produced. In retrospect, it's probably for the best, as the show went really downhill after the first episode.
Get him, Tomahawk! Get him!
For any curious Swamp Thing fans out there, I say definitely give the show a look just for a bit of a laugh in a so bad it's good kind of way, because it doesn't really provide much other than that. All 5 episodes were released on DVD in 2004, which is where I got my copy. The DVD is now long since out of production. You can pick up copies on the secondary market, such as eBay, but the sellers are usually asking way too much for it, so I'd just suggest watching the episodes on YouTube if you can.
Only mankind can truly save the rainforest. We must all be guardians of the Earth.
As always, thanks very much for watching the show. If you could hit like on the video, hit subscribe on my YouTube channel, it'd be much appreciated. And I'll see you on the next episode of The Retrospective.